Topping today's news, a man in his early 50s dies in an industrial accident. The public hospital system in a dilemma with scores of nurses calling in sick. The Minister of National Security reacts to the U.S. defense attorney that calls the Bahamas corrupt. Good evening, Bahamas. This is your JCN Evening News. I'm Jarino Saunders. It is a pleasure to have you join us today. Investigations are underway into what police are describing as a freak accident resulting in the death of a 51-year-old man. Police say shortly after 6 p.m. on Thursday, they were alerted to the incident just off the Tonic-Williams-Darling Highway when an excavator being operated by the male victim, it was at a construction site. He was crushed after the hillside that he was cutting gave way. The excavator was buried beneath the large boulders. Initial attempts to reach the operator were unsuccessful. Police, fire services, along with volunteers equipped with heavy machinery, helped in the recovery efforts. The man's torso was located. Police say due to safety concerns and diminishing visibility, recovery efforts were suspended and they were expected to resume early this morning. Nurses staged a sick-out on Thursday because they were frustrated over non-payment for overtime hours worked and what union leaders say is a show of disrespect for nurses from the Public Hospitals Authority. Bahamas Union of Nurses President Muriel Lightbourne shared some of the nurses' frustrations.
Well, you would believe that those specialty areas, those critical areas, and that's why I am here today to ask the government to resolve this. The areas such as accident and emergencies, the ICU, NICU, and not just in dialysis, those special areas where it is critical. These people need their services. They need to be attended to. And so the government has in his hands to say, listen, pay these nurses, let these nurses go back to work.
Well, their actions has seemingly worked. The Public Hospitals Authority said outstanding overtime payments have been approved and are now being processed for direct payouts to public health nurses. However, that process is expected to take approximately 2 weeks. Unfortunately, today the PHA advised that the eye clinic, specialty clinics, medical clinics, surgical clinics, and eye, nose, and throat clinics were all closed until further notice. In an effort to ease some staffing concerns, the authority says it is managing schedules and reallocating resources to minimize disruptions. During the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing on Thursday, Press Secretary Keishla Adderley was asked what the government intends to do to help resolve this nursing crisis.
The provision of health care is a priority of the government, and where there are shortfalls, whether human resources or otherwise, it's deeply troubling. Now, having said that, an assessment is underway today to try and determine the extent of the problem and to make sure that coverage is in place where needed and that it's prioritized, as is the case in emergency situations and scenarios like these. In the meantime, we are very hopeful to speak with the relevant union stakeholders to get a handle on the problem, to speak about the situation and to come to a resolution so that the public health system can return to full strength as soon as possible.
The nurses union held a press conference this morning, Friday, to further explain their frustrations. National Security Minister Wayne Munro is forcefully pushing back against claims that corruption is widespread within the Bahamas' law enforcement and government systems. The comments come from a U.S. defense attorney, Martin Roth, who defended former Defense Force officer Darren Roker, who was accused of being a part of a major drug smuggling ring that trafficked tons of cocaine into the United States between 2021 and 2025. Mr. Munro said the allegations were made for strategic reasons and do not reflect the reality of how wrongdoing is dealt with here in the country.
And so across every organization, you may find a bad apple. Bahamians just need to Google DEA agent, charged, convicted, and you will see that it is a matter that happens. I think the commissioner the Prime Minister, everyone puts it correctly, one bad apple does not taint an entire organization. I like to say that the test is what happens when you find that bad apple.
Monroe said the public should be more concerned if wrongdoing was not being identified or prosecuted, adding that accountability is the true measure of integrity. And finally, in this segment, tonight is the night Jones Communications will award its 2025 Person of the Year. That person, Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister for Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Chester Cooper. Mr. Cooper is being recognized for the tremendous work he and his team doing to attract record numbers in tourist arrivals, the Family Island Airport Renaissance Project, and attracting billions of dollars in investments throughout the country. The ceremony being held right here, JCN Studios, top of the hill, University Drive. You're watching JCN TV. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following these commercials.